We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Our guest, taking a drink of water so he's properly hydrated, is Butch Spyridon with the Nashville Visitors and Convention Bureau. It's good to have you on, Butch. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, you didn't give me my 3-second warning.
I know. I'm sorry. This is the craziness of Zoom. It happens to me all the time. Usually I'm combing my hair or something. All right. We've got another phone call for you. Let's take a call quickly from Rob. Rob, good morning. Hi, Rob.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
First thing that comes to my mind is the air pollution that the cars might cause around in Nashville. And the next thing is the noise around the hospitals and nursing homes, the vibration of those cars running, and the noise pollution that they'll cause. But that air pollution is what worries me, that the cars pollute the air. You better check in European races and see what's happening over there in the pollution area of where they're running the cars. You can't run those in the city of Nashville without the liability costs will be to the city and the taxpayers up there also.
All right. Do you want to just kind of address those concerns, Butch?
Sure. Well, first, the course itself will not go near any hospitals or nursing homes. So understand that valid question. I will do some checking on the air pollution. I got to believe with technology, they are better than they have ever been, just like all cars are. And we're talking about a total of maybe 4 or 5 hours of racing over 3 days. So it's not an extended period of time, like you mentioned, Le Mans, where it's 24 hours nonstop. This is a bit different, so it's a shorter window. I feel good about the technology, but I will check that because I'm not as familiar. And the course is much more confined to Nissan Stadium, so not a lot louder than when the Titans score and the crowd erupts, or CMA Music Fest rock in the stadium every year. But good questions and valid points.
And as far as, I guess you said that, this would be over a 3-day period, the race spread over 3 days? Okay.
Correct. To my knowledge right now, 2 races over the 3-day festival event.
And so, I guess, as you said, any costs incurred would probably be by the race organizers. And part of this is that just, I'm thinking again, I'm guessing there'd be several dozen cars competing and they're all out there at once. You could have a high-speed wreck, and you don't want one of these cars flying like a rocket through a nearby building. So, I mean, they have ways. I've seen this in some of the European races. I mean, there's bales and fencing in certain areas. Is that something that would have to be installed?
Yeah, all of that expense is at the expense of the promoters of this race. Interestingly enough, they have aligned a partnership with MTSU and their concrete program right there.
Wow.
So they're going to have the latest technology for the concrete barriers that we be put in place. And Roger Penske even perked up. He met with MTSU, and I think they realized they may be able to improve their safety and technology on their other races. And then they install fencing, I want to say on top of the concrete barrier, it's about 9 feet higher. And then cables, seems like there were 9 or 10 rows of cable run through to support the fencing. So yeah, it is a confined, very safe, tested technology to protect anybody that might be injured by an automobile accident. And all of the liability, as I said, goes to them, both IndyCar and the promoters. So
all right.
they understand that, and precautions will be taken, the latest and greatest technology for safety.
I have to ask, will any cherry trees be cut?
No, thank you for that. To my knowledge, no.
Okay, we all know that happened, and they were replaced with the draft. Does it have a name yet? Would it be like the Nashville Grand Prix?
Music City Grand Prix.
Okay, Music City Grand Prix. Well, okay, I don't want to be too much of a cheerleader, but that's something I would check out, and we'll see. Hopefully that goes on. Now, listen, we just have you for a couple segments here, so we're wrapping up. I just want to get from you. So where do we stand right now? I know some of the numbers that came out recently, and I think, you were talked to just about how much money, this pandemic has cost the city of Nashville, as it is, I imagine, all major cities around the country. But, Nashville so much is a destination city for people. I mean, more than than, I mean, some of the major cities out there. We thrive and get tourists here. And, you know, I think are they still coming right now? Not all of them, unfortunately, observing the mask rule, but I mean, are they still coming? And do you think they'll return when things get better?
Answer to your second part of your question, yeah, the pent-up demand for Nashville is really strong. So we feel good that people will come back and want to come back within all of our market segments. People are still coming. We're not doing any marketing right now, but a few folks are coming Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They are behaving better. They are complying, I'd say about 90%. Compliance now, as opposed to maybe early July when it was maybe 10% compliance. So the businesses are doing everything they can to stay safe and enforce the guidelines set out. And our visitors actually now seem to care a little bit more about Nashville's well-being as well as their own. So feel good about who's coming right now. We haven't touched recovery at all. We're still losing about $100 million a week in visitor spending.
Wow.
And state just released its 2019 numbers. So we were $7.5 billion. 34% of the state spending was in Davidson County, and now we're at the bottom.
Oh boy.
We've lost almost $3 billion at this point in spending, and that will never get back.
Right.
So,
it's just mind-boggling. But again, everyone kind of in that same boat, but it really hits Nashville hard. Hey, we have Reverend Enoch Fuzz joining us on line one. Reverend Fuzz, good morning, sir.
Awesome.
How are you, and what's on your mind?
Hey, Nick, and I think Butch Spyridon is the best person in the world for me to ask this question that I've had for a long time. And I know that we're having a big problem with his industry right now, but let me encourage him. I believe things are going to be okay. Soon, it's going to be okay. But this is my question that I've had and my best suggestion. With the tourists that come to Nashville, I know there's some other cities that do this. I've seen numbers that we have like 15 million tourists a year. And Nashville is so awesome, we can probably get 20 million tourists a year, or maybe 30 million, if we marketed ourselves with these experts like Butch and them. I want to ask, why couldn't Nashville add like a $20 visitor fee to each tourist, have each tourist spend or pay another $20 some kind of way into our public coffers. Now, I know about the hotel things and all that. That's what people respond with. But I've seen these tourists pay $10 for a 50-cent cup of beer over and over again. And to have a great time in a city, to have a place where you get to go and have the best vacation in the whole wide world, I don't think people would complain about contributing $20 to the coffers of that city to help to ensure things like the best vacation in the whole wide world. And I want to ask, so you had 15 million times 20, that's $300 million a year in our public coffers where property taxes don't have to go up. That's the kind of question I want to ask. Why couldn't Nashville do that like they do in San Diego? And the people of Nashville get in on it like, hey, visitors, welcome to Nashville. Leave your $20. That's my question.
All right. Butch, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Reverend, thank you for your question. And I think your kind words have great respect for you. So thanks for calling in. I kind of like the idea. Hadn't really thought about it like that. I think first I would have to acknowledge that they pay almost 20% in total on hotel taxes. And then they do pay airport fees or airline ticket taxes that help fund our airport, and they pay rent-a-car. And they pay Uber and Lyft airport departure fees. So we're taxing them pretty good. I think if we could find a way to implement that, I don't most of our visitors, if they're here 3 days, $20 wouldn't be much at all to extract from them. So I think it's finding the way to implement that. They do a lot of good for us, and I think the number is about 250 million state taxes paid and almost an equal number of local taxes paid now. So they're helping us a lot. But I need to look into it. I like the idea. It's just a way to do it where they don't feel like it's an admission fee.
Right. The question, I like the concept, I suppose, is how to implement it. But the other side of it, Butch, is I know there are some people that maybe just stay here and don't travel. Look, I'll go places as you do. And when I go to another city, we're not the only city that does that. And, you get a quote for a hotel room in Chicago or Charlotte or something. Well, that's before the tax. And the tax is another 20%. I mean, it adds up real fast when you travel. And all the fees, and I think every municipality in the country goes after with the taxes the visitors. And there's nothing wrong with that since you're coming to the city. But do you think there is a point to which, eventually, because it's to that point for me where, that comes into play for me, like how much is it really going to cost me, and is it worth the headache of all those little fees and taxes that come into play when I'm going to another city where I may just say, to heck with you, I ain't doing it. I mean, there's got to be a line where you don't want to go too far on that.
There definitely is a line. We've seen it in some other states that pushed the limit and actually had to roll back taxes because there was a visitor revolt. So it's finding that fine line and finding a way to do it where they feel like they're getting value. And I do think, to the Reverend's point, we've done well as a city, and a lot of people come here. They come here because they think and feel like they get great value. The value is in no cover charge at a lot of the music clubs. The value is in how friendly the city is. The value comes from our free events. You can do CMA Music Fest for the most part free, New Year's, July 4th, the different things we have done. So value matters. So if you can couple an additional fee with added value, I think you got a shot. And I'm going to do some thinking about it. No promises, but I like the question, and I like that kind of thought. We have to look at ways to improve the city without taxing ourselves.
Let's take another quick question for you from Larry. Larry, good morning. Hi, Larry. Go ahead.
Yes. I've been unemployed for a while now. I'm trying to call for my unemployment claim, but I can't get a hold of nobody. They didn't pay me in 5-6 weeks, so I'm like, what's going on with them?
That's part of the problem too, Butch. With the folks, this gentleman here calling in, Butch is not with unemployment, but you have, because of things being shut down right now, a lot of the downtown businesses struggling. You're aware of that. And people like him that are trying to get by with unemployment and getting the payment sometimes can be a real headache. And that's just part of the process of hopefully how we're going to bounce back and slowly reopen.
I didn't hear all the questions, so thanks, Nick. As I get criticized and even vilified for either tourists coming to town and not complying with our ordinances, so we haven't been able to market. I can't really stop people from coming, but we're not inviting anybody. But the number one thing on our plate is getting our industry back to work. It's not about, it does require getting people to come visit, but the concern, the interest, and the priority is getting people back to work, because we know the federal support, it's currently run out. We think it will come back in a smaller amount, but it's going to be gone before the end of the year. And we have to get our industry back to work, and we have to get our economy running. And tourism's a part of the economy. It isn't about greed. It isn't about partying. It is about jobs and an industry.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, Butch, listen, thank you for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. And good luck on that Grand Prix thing and everything else as we work toward getting the city back open as we do so safely. You take care of yourself. It's always good talking to you.
Always good talking to you. Thanks for having me, and you stay safe as well.
You too. We'll see you again soon. We'll take a break on that note. When we come back, as I said, the final couple segments this morning, if you want to dial it up, we're going to go open phones. A lot of things to talk about. You can follow up on some of what we were just discussing with Butch, but some other stories that were in the news over the past week. Be glad to hear from you on that. So I'll set the table as well. When we come back, call us. We'll get the number up, and we'll be back right after this.
This is a Storm 5 weather.